What is going on, Streamyard community? My name is Nick, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to overcome camera shyness so that you can be more comfortable on camera, so that you can make better videos if you make videos, so that you can make better live streams or be better live just in general. Now, I've got 15 tips that we're going to go through. So if you are somebody that wants to have better camera presence, you're somebody that wants to be able to connect better with the people that are watching your content, if it's a video or live stream, whatever it happens to be, then make sure that you watch this entire stream today, or the replay if you're catching it on the replay, because this is value packed in terms of things that you can do to overcome camera shyness so that you can really have an awesome live stream or make awesome video content. Because here's the thing, when it comes to YouTube and just online media in general, how you connect with the camera makes a huge difference. And the approach that you take when you are communicating with the camera also makes a really big difference. So the last thing you want when it comes to creating the content that you're putting out there is to be timid and scared and not confident in what it is that you're doing. Because if you are, then people aren't going to vibe as much, because it's going to be clear that you're not even confident in what it is that you're doing, which then in turn, there'll be some people that'll, feel sorry or whatever. But the idea is that, you're a content creator. So you want to come at them as a content creator, somebody that's confident, somebody that, can put all of this stuff together. So before we get started, I want to first thank Streamyard for letting me onto the channel today to share this information. Super pumped to be hanging out here today, sharing this this information. But I want to take it all the way back, as we get started here, to the very first video that I published to YouTube. And the reason I want to talk about that, and it's a video as well, the reason why I want to talk about that is because my very first video on YouTube was about how to overcome camera shyness. And the reason that I made that particular video was because I didn't want to be that person on camera. I was afraid to put myself out there. I was afraid to be on camera. So I thought to myself, hey, if I'm having trouble, trying to make, to get onto YouTube, then in that situation, I'm going to make this video. So if there's anybody else that has a similar problem, in terms of they can't, they're not comfortable on camera, or they're putting up all these roadblocks that are stopping them from doing the thing that they want to do, be it live streaming or making video, that hopefully this video will help them out as well. And some of the things that I was talking about in that particular video, in terms of why we are afraid to be on camera, or why we lack confidence on camera, is that we have all this stuff rattling around in our heads. We're thinking to ourselves, what if people come into the stream and they don't like me? What if I say something stupid? What if I have something on my face and I don't even know it, right? And I'm streaming this whole time, and then I look like an idiot because I have this thing on my face and I didn't even know it was there, right? What if somebody that I work with, or somebody in my family, or somebody that I don't really want to see the stream, what if they see it? Then what? Right? Then I'm going to have to deal with that. Maybe they're going to give me a hard time. And, I had all these things that were going on inside of me that I had to also overcome. And because of that, it helped me push through and identify how weak those particular things are. Now, I'm not saying weak as, a human being, as a person. What I'm saying is how weak those excuses are for not going after that thing that you want to do in terms of live streaming or making video content for YouTube or anywhere else on the internet for that matter. But when it comes to fixing your camera shyness or your confidence on camera, some things that I want you to consider before we get into the full list here. And the very first thing that I want you to consider is that when you're live streaming compared to video content, people expect, a tighter experience, some B-roll, a little bit of, editing, maybe things like that. But when it comes to live streams, the expectation is a lot more loose. And the reason for that is because when people come into a live stream, they understand, like everybody that's watching this live stream right now, everybody here knows that I'm live. And because of that, if I say something, or if I have to kind of back up and kind of reframe an idea because I mess it up when I'm talking about it, everybody here is tolerant of that. It's not a big deal because I'm live and it's understandable in that situation. But as we get into the actual tips here, I just want you to know that if you are not confident on camera because you're like, hey, I can't edit this, I just want you to know that people are very tolerant when it comes to live streams. If you have technical problems, if you end up saying the wrong thing, or if you just completely go blank. And it doesn't matter if you're just getting started or if you have a lot of experience. I've done tons of live streams. I've been doing it every Saturday for years. I've streamed on a bunch of other YouTube channels as well, a bunch of other platforms as well. So I have tons of live streams under my belt, but sometimes I'm streaming and everything's going right along and I'm cruising right along and my brain just is not on my side. And my brain is like, hey, Nick, guess what? We completely are going to forget what it is that we're talking about. Right. And then I'm there, I've got a bunch of people watching, from, if it's on my channel, I've got a bunch of people watching and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, great. I completely lost track of what it was that I was going to say. So the reason I'm telling you that is because if you're somebody that's just getting started, I just want you to understand that those are normal situations, right? If something happens with your tech, if you forget what it is that you're saying and you have to kind of, stumble around the idea that you're wanting to express, it's a normal thing. So just look at it as a normal thing instead of stressing yourself out about it and thinking to yourself like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I can't remember what I was going to say, or oh my gosh, I can't believe that, that I just acted this way in front of, people that were watching me on the live stream. Okay. So some of the things I'm going to talk about are going to help you with that as well. But the very first thing that I want to tell you is that if you've never live streamed before, when you are live streaming, your brain works a little bit different than it normally does, especially if you're doing any type of control. And what I mean by control is you can't see it right now in terms of my screen, but you can see this curved screen that I have here. Well, on this curved screen, I actually have this divided up into a handful of different windows. I've got a YouTube chat. I've got my notes here for this live stream, which is something that we're going to talk about here in a bit. I have the Streamyard live stream over here. And then I have the YouTube live over here, the dashboard, so that I can see all of that. So in addition to switching back and forth between cameras, monitoring all of this stuff, I'm also having to maintain focus on what it is that I'm trying to say. So there can be a tech hurdle. Now, you don't need the camera switching and all that stuff, especially with Streamyard. They make it extremely easy for you. But the idea is when you're streaming, if you are trying to focus on what you're going to say next while you're saying whatever it is that you're going to say, in that situation, if you want to start practicing that, on YouTube, you have the option to have a private live stream. So of course you could live stream without actually putting it up on any platform, but to get yourself used to how the software works in terms of Streamyard, how the system works on YouTube's end when you actually go live, because some things like the delay between when I'm talking and when you're actually hearing it. So then when people are leaving comments, they're coming in on a delay. And if you are, focusing on everything else and you're trying to stream confidently, then in that situation, when you start noticing that, if you've never streamed before, then you might notice that, oh, wait a minute, something's wrong because there's this big delay between, what it is that I'm saying versus when people are actually replying to me. And then, your brain will start kind of coming unglued in that situation. So the very first thing is to experiment with private live streams so that you can get used to the tech behind it, and so that you can get used to knowing what it is that you're actually monitoring and what's important to monitor, what's not, what you don't need to monitor, and things like that. But streaming privately is going to help you just kind of get through that experience. It's a way to practice to where you're still going up to the platform so that you can watch yourself on the replay as well. So that you can watch yourself, critique yourself, and notice, hey, I need to do this a little bit better. Maybe I can come in a little bit stronger next time, that sort of thing. So the next thing that I have on the list, number 2 here, is to understand that we all make mistakes. So like I was saying before, all live streamers, people on the news, for example, like they, like we do this to the internet, news people do it to TV and the internet. And sometimes news people, mess up too. If you don't believe me, if you haven't personally seen it, just hop on YouTube and look for newscaster bloopers, like some around that news person bloopers, or, however you want to frame it. But the idea there is if you look for that type of thing, you're going to see that, even those people who do it day in, day out, they also still make mistakes. They have tech problems and things like that. So just understand that we all make mistakes. The third thing is now we're going to start talking about, the comfort side of things and actually, communicating in a better way. So the next thing that is important to make sure that you keep in mind, or that you try, I should say, not that you keep in mind, is to have a dedicated streaming area. And I don't mean that you have to have that dedicated an entire room or anything like that, but it can be helpful to stream in the same place every time. And the reason for that is because when you stream in the same place every time, you know where to put your coffee cup. So when you're streaming, you can just reach out and grab it. You know where, the lights are, so you can set everything up easily without having to get frustrated before your live stream because you can't get the lights to look right. It just helps you get into that feeling of knowing exactly where everything is. But also when you're streaming from a similar place, even if it's in, a corner of your place or a corner of your office, when you're streaming from that same exact place, when you sit down there to live stream, your brain kind of goes into stream mode to where it starts getting ready on its own for the live stream because it starts getting familiar with, hey, this is the place I'm making content. This is where I'm streaming. This is where I'm making videos if you're making video content. And that can help you just be more comfortable in general because you're in that familiar spot doing that thing, which in this situation would be live streaming or making videos. Another thing, how many people here that are here live right now? If you use scripts, just write scripts. If you use bullet points or just simple notes, write bullet points. I'm just curious to see, for the people that are hanging out here, curious to see, what's going on here. And also, Doug Houston, thank you for that. Everybody, make sure that share this out on Twitter if you are enjoying this so far. Even if you're watching it on the replay, make sure you give it a thumbs up if you're learning anything so far. But yeah, so we've got, a few people coming in saying a mixture of both with the bullet points and the scripts. We've got, bullet points, scripts, both. So one thing that I encourage you to do if you are having trouble with confidence is confidence on your live streams or in your video content is to try to use bullet points when possible. And the reason that it's good to use bullet points instead of scripts is because when you're reading scripts, it takes something out of your personality, right? Because you're focused on reading the script that you have and you're not focused on the viewers. You're not focused on just communicating in the way that you naturally communicate. And when you do that, then it can make you robotic and it can really take the warmness out of you as a person because you're just reading, word for word on a script. So because of that, one of the things that can help you be better on camera, doesn't matter if you're making video content, if you are live streaming, and this even applies to stages as well. If you're somebody that does presentations, is the rule there is if you have slides, you don't want to put a bunch of stuff on the slides because you don't want to sit there and read the slides word for word. You don't want to accidentally do that. So even on slides, you want to make sure that you're keeping the information that's available on the slide as limited as possible so that you see the slide, it triggers the idea that you're going to be talking about, and then you can just kind of freestyle or openly talk about that idea in the way that you naturally do. And that's the beauty of using bullet points is you communicate in a way that is natural to how you communicate on a regular basis. So if you're reading a script, you might get a little bit robotic. Your voice might get a little bit monotone, unless you practice a lot and you get really good at it, which some people do. But one thing that you might find is that your voice gets really monotone because you're like, I'm just droning over this particular thing that I'm reading because I'm just focused on making sure that I'm reading this thing the right way. And you know what I mean? And because of that, it can really take away from, how you express yourself. So if you are using scripts on a regular basis, I encourage you to try bullet points and see how that works for you. Now, one caveat with this, or not caveat, just one thing to keep in mind is that when you are using bullet points, you are fully dependent on what's going on in your brain. So when you're using scripts, you have that crutch available to you in terms of, okay, where was I in the script? And then, I can keep talking about what I was talking about. But when you are using bullet points in that situation, you just have to make sure that you keep recalling, the information that you are trying to express when you are using bullet points. So, but using bullet points will help you communicate in a more natural way. Now, when it comes to bullet points, another thing that you can do if you're like, hey, Nick, I'm sharing technical information. So because of that, I can't really only use bullet points because the information I'm sharing is very specific. In that situation, bullet points plus notes is where you can, take care of that situation. So for example, let's say that you're talking about, let's just say science, for example. In that particular situation, there might be some very technical things that you need to make sure to reference. Very specific words that you need to make sure that you're highlighting in that situation, just as part of your notes for that bullet point. You want to make sure that you put, those technical things, underneath your bullet points as well, so that you can make sure that you're referencing the right thing. And really quick, Frugal Granny says, what is bullet points? That's a great question. So if you're not familiar with what bullet points are, when you're writing a script, you're writing pretty much word for word what it is that you're going to say. When you are using bullet points, what you're doing is you are just writing the idea that you want to express. So for example, my notes right here in front of me right now, I have Overcoming camera shyness and comfortable on camera at the very top, so that when the stream first starts, I know, hey, this is the topic, this is the thing that we're talking about. And then I just have my very first video. I don't go into detail about what it is that I'm going to say about that very first video. I just have my very first video, and that reminds me, as that bullet point that reminds me to talk about my very first video and tell that story. Underneath that, I say, why do we lack confidence and certainty in a stream? And then I have bullet points underneath that. I have 4 bullet points that say, what if people don't like the stream? That's 1 bullet point. 2, what if I say something stupid? That's another bullet point. 3, what if something on my face and I don't know it? 4, what if someone I know sees me live? And the idea there is it just gives me the kind of framework of what it is that I'm talking about without me having to say what's on the screen word for word. Same exact thing on the how to fix it, which is the next thing down. I have experiment with a private live stream. That is number 1. So when I was talking about experimenting with a private live stream, I was talking about, getting familiar with the tech and all this other stuff. None of that was written down. The only thing that was written down was the bullet point of experiment with a private live stream. So the bullet points are essentially where you take the concept of what it is that you're going to be talking about and you just make a note about that. And then you have another bullet point, which is another note about the next concept that you want to talk about, for example. So it just keeps you on track. It's like an outline of what it is that you're talking about. But the next thing on the list, if you are using scripts or teleprompters or anything like that, experiment with going off script. Or if you are using scripts and you're like, hey, Nick, I just want to keep using scripts because it's what I'm familiar with, but I want to kind of level things up a little bit, block it out. And what I mean by that is have a part of your stream that's scripted and then have parts of your stream that are bullet points. And by doing that, then what you're doing is you're kind of mixing the two, and then you can have those moments to where you freely communicate in your more natural way, to where you're communicating the way that you do with friends and family and anybody else that you talk to. And then you have the scripted part to where you only have to read small blocks of text instead of, having to read a bunch of text throughout the entire live stream. The next thing that can help you with your confidence and just being comfortable on camera, and this is going to sound crazy, but trust me on this one, wearing comfortable clothes. Now, I know this sounds like, wow, I didn't expect that one, Nick, right? But wearing comfortable clothes makes a big difference. Now, I know in some cases that, if you're doing it for work or something like that, you might have something a little bit more stuffy that you have to wear. But when possible, like every time I live stream, I'm wearing like sweat shorts or sweatpants or pajama bottoms or something like that. And then typically I'm wearing either a comfortable t-shirt or I'm wearing a hoodie of some kind, just because that's me in my natural environment. And because of that, that helps me stay, a lot more comfortable when I live stream. Now, when we were doing it from the studio, in that situation, because I would have to drive there, so because of that, I might be wearing jeans or something. But when I'm streaming, at home, then in that situation, I always look at comfort first, because if I'm comfortable and I feel comfortable, then I'm going to come across more comfortable on camera because I'm not fidgeting around with my clothes. I'm not, I'm just not uncomfortable, right? I'm in my space. I'm in my environment, which kind of goes to the third point that we were talking about of, recording in that area that's familiar to you. So now you're in that area that's familiar to you and you're in comfortable clothes so that you feel good and everything is great in terms of how you feel, which is going to help you have a better live stream. And I even dial this in all the way to the point of the lighting that I use. Like you can see here, because I have the stuff that you see behind me. But in addition to that, you're going to see a light hitting over here. One reason is because, I don't want this all to be dark, but 2, is I also have the room completely vibed out with lights and things like that, even the stuff that you're not seeing on camera, so that it just kind of helps me in my creative space mentally, and it just helps me just be comfortable in the space that I'm in. So as soon as I walk in this room, it's my creative space. And that basically lets me be able to make video content and live streams and podcasts and graphics and all the stuff that I do. It allows me to be able to do all of that in this comfortable environment. And because of that, anytime that I turn the camera on, I feel awesome. And I'll, and I'm sure you can probably tell it when I'm streaming that I feel awesome. So because of that, being comfortable in what it is that you're wearing and the environment that you're in can make a really big difference. Now, another thing that can be really beneficial for you pre-stream, right? Kind of like a pre-stream ritual, is if you have any favorite music that you like to listen to, anything that typically puts you in a good mood, anything that makes you feel good, try using that or listening to it before your live stream. Now, for copyright reasons, make sure you turn it off before you stream. Make sure you remember to do that. But listening to music that you enjoy before your stream or something that maybe will get you like hyped up a little bit, all of that can be advantageous. So D and I, when we used to stream, my brother D, he streams on this channel as well. When we used to stream in our studio, one of the things that we did was before the stream would start, is we would have these particular tracks that we would play, and we would play those, and we'd sit there and we'd just kind of jam out, a little bit before the stream would start. And even if we came in and, we had just gotten there through traffic, maybe we're a little bit frustrated, something like that, it allowed us to kind of release some of that frustration and just kind of enjoy the music and kind of get into our, zone, so to speak, and get ready for the live stream. Because when we're streaming together, we typically stream from anywhere from 3 to 6 hours at a time, sometimes 7. So because of that, that pre-stream preparation, for us anyway, made a really big difference in terms of us just getting comfortable, getting kind of hyped up before the stream a little bit. In addition to that, another thing that people are afraid about when it comes to streaming and that they are uncomfortable with is the tech that they're using. So one thing that can also help you a ton is getting really familiar with the tech that you're using. Now, luckily with Streamyard, you don't need a lot of tech, right? All this stuff is just bonus, right? But with with Streamyard, you don't need a lot of tech. So since they take the heavy lifting out of, what you need for live streaming, so to speak, since they take care of that for you at Streamyard, all you need is a webcam or a camera that you can plug into your computer and you're good to go, or your mobile device and you're good to go. But whatever it is, if it's Streamyard, if it's how you're connecting your camera to your computer, make sure that you are very familiar with how all of that works. And the reason for that is because you are going to have problems when it comes to tech on your live streams. It might be to where there was an update somewhere and how you're plugging your camera in. Let's say, for example, you're using a cam link to plug your camera into your computer. In that situation, sometimes, you might have a compatibility thing or a system update. And, if this isn't updated, then in that situation, that connection might get a little bit weird. If you're using an ATEM Mini, same exact thing, to where when you are doing the live stream, you might end up in a situation to where, the tech isn't working for some reason. So being able to troubleshoot the tech quickly can also help you, because you're like, hey, if something goes down, if something goes wrong, it's cool. I got it covered. I know what's going on with my tech. So then if I have an issue, I know that I have it covered. So then, you don't worry about that. And part of what we're going through here, and I'm sure that you can pick it up, but part of what we're going through here is kind of releasing tension, releasing worry, releasing headache, releasing pre-stream anxiety, right? Just trying to just get you into your normal mode, right? In terms of the you version of you for when you're live streaming, so that you can basically just let everything else fade away and focus on the connection between you and the people that are enjoying your stream. Now, another thing is when you are live streaming, instead of acknowledging in your own brain, if you have trouble, with knowing, hey, I've got, a bunch of people here watching me. If you have trouble with that, if you're intimidated by that, one thing that can be really beneficial for you is to try to reframe how you're thinking about it. And instead of thinking hey, I'm on the internet and there's a bunch of people watching me, think of it from the perspective of, hey, I'm talking to a really good friend. We're on a video call. And you're lying to yourself in this situation, but it can kind of help you just kind of reframe how you're thinking about it. But just look at the camera and think to yourself, I'm talking to a really good friend, we're having a video call, but I'm just telling this person a bunch of stuff. They're not saying anything to me. I'm telling them everything, and they're a really good friend, and they're listening, right? They're listening to all the stuff it is that I have to say, but I'm just, throwing all of my, thoughts and everything at that particular person. Other things that can help if you want to level it up is if you do have a person or a pet or anything like that you do, share everything with, and you're super comfortable talking to, taking a photo of that person and putting it, somewhere around your camera so that you can just, see that person and have that reference when you are talking to the cameras as well, for the sake of, being able to communicate in a more comfortable way and trying not to be intimidated by all the people that are hanging out watching. Another thing is to focus on delivering the value instead of yourself. This is a big one. So when it comes to live streaming, if you are, or making video content, if you are not comfortable making the content in terms of, you're like, oh man, what if people think this, or what if people think that, what if I screw up? What if I do this thing? All of that is all about you, right? It's all about you. And because of that, you can get really caught up in your own head about, all of the things that could possibly go wrong. I mean, in theory, something could happen. It rained just a little bit ago, so something could happen to where, something falls through the ceiling because of rain. The water starts dripping somewhere. We could have an electrical short. We could have, all kinds of things could go wrong. But when you start focusing outside of yourself and start focusing on the value that you're bringing to the people watching, then what you're doing is you're changing what it is that you're focusing on, which then can also kind of help you release some of that pressure and tension, because in that situation, you're thinking about, okay, how can I make this an awesome experience for them? This isn't about me. How can I make this an awesome experience for the people that are watching? How can I, entertain them if that's the type of content that you make? How can I teach them in a better way if that's the type of content that you make? If you're doing any type of like motivational stuff or anything like that, how can I, get these people as motivated and fired up as I possibly can? Like when you start focusing on that, then that kind of takes it out of you as well and turns everything back at the people that you are talking to in your live stream, which can also be extremely valuable when it comes to yourself, getting more comfortable and confident in how you're communicating on camera. Another thing is to limit distractions when possible. So a little side tip, I actually have one over there. If you want me to show it to you, I can. But another side tip is to, one, limit your distractions when possible. But one thing that can also help you limit distractions is how many people here in the live stream right now, how many people have somebody at home while you are live streaming, and from time to time, they're doing something and, kind of distracts you from your live stream or from the video content that you're making. Just curious to know how many people here are, they have that sort of thing. And the reason I want to know that is because you can use something it's called a busy light, is kind of a technical term for it. And this is common in like call centers and things like that. And it's basically to where when somebody picks up the phone, then their light will go on so everybody knows not to bother that person. So if you have people at home, ADHD Gardner says, no, just my dogs. So if you have people at home, your dogs probably aren't going to respond to this. But if you have people at home, you can get Philips Hue lights or any type of light that you can trigger through your phone or through your Alexa or your Google Nest or whatever it happens to be. But you can get a light that you keep either right outside of your door or that you keep in the living room or wherever it is that people typically make the most noise. And before you go live, you can actually turn that light on or turn it to red or whatever it happens to be to where that indicates to your family or anybody that's hanging out with you, except for your pets. It indicates to them that you're live or you're getting ready to go live. So they know that, hey, let's keep it down a little bit. They're live streaming in there, and they don't want to be, jerks, that types of things. So by using the busy light, that can also be something that can help limit the distractions, because then other people in the house will know that you're streaming, and then they can know that's their indicator to keep it down a little bit and not, go crazy, so to speak. The next thing on our list is if no one is in your stream, and we've all been there. My very first live stream on my channel was a tutorial on how to make a thumbnail. And during that particular live stream, I had like 2 people come into that live stream, and I was excited, like, oh, hey, what's going on? It was awesome. But before they were in there, I was doing the thumbnail tutorial. And the idea when you are live streaming, if nobody comes in your live stream, or if you have like one person hanging out, is think about the replay, right? Of course, you want to engage that person because you want them to stick around. But think more about the replay than the live stream that you're doing. And what I mean by that is make sure that when the stream starts, that you're grabbing somebody's attention, the person that would be coming in and interacting with that content. Make sure you're grabbing their attention at the very beginning of your live stream. Let people know what it is that you're going to be doing during the live stream. The last thing that you want to do is go live and sit there like this and say, hey, yeah, we're just waiting for people to come in here and then we'll get started. That's the last thing that you want to do. And the reason for that is because the people that do come in, they're not gonna have anything like going on, right? They're just gonna be like sitting there. And if you have the audience built in already, like let's say that you have a larger following, then in that situation, you might have some people, come in relatively quick and they might already know you and they might hang out for it. But new people, that YouTube is showing your content to. In that situation, if you have any new people coming in that have never seen you before, they don't know what they're waiting for. So in that situation, they're going to come in and then they're going to leave because you're not actually doing anything. Another thing that I do want to mention here really quick is somebody mentioned, Adam's Exploits says to use an ROS or a run of show for what it is that you're doing. That's kind of the idea of the bullet points as well. But it's the technical word for what he's saying is run of show. And basically it's like an outline or a format that you're going to run through, and you'll have notes in there about, hey, in this section, we're talking about this, and then we're going to bring our guest on. Then we're going to talk to the guest about this. These are the questions that we're asking the guest, things like that. But it's basically just a full outline of what it is that you're going to be doing in your live stream that can also be really valuable. So that's a bonus tip. That one came in from Adam's Exploits there. So thank you, Adam. Appreciate the tip there on that one as well. So next up on the list is to breathe. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but trust me on this one. Breathe and or yell before your live stream. And what I mean by that is when you first are going live, in some cases, you might be in a situation to where, you're running around, you're getting your lights set up, you're trying to make sure everything works. You're like, oh no, I forgot to do this. And then you have to put, a thumbnail together. You have to do this or you have to do that. And because of that, you can be running all over the place. Like, oh no, last minute, I forgot to grab my coffee. I didn't even make a coffee. So now I have to run down there before the stream starts. And then I have to run in and sit down like seconds before my stream starts, if I even make it in time, just because I need to make sure that I have my coffee, right? So in situations like that, you may be running around and you're kind of out of breath a little bit. Even if it's going to make you late to your live stream by, 30 seconds or something, even if it's going to make you late, just stop for a minute. Kind of, let that tension out. Right? If you want to yell, you can yell as well. Just cover it up and just give it a like a woo. Just for the sake of getting some of that tension and some of that anxiety, so to speak, out of your body before you live stream, so that when you do come in and you are streaming, your stream starts, in that situation, you're already, more comfortable, more relaxed and things like that, because you've already let out some of that pre-stream tension, so to speak. It can really work wonders for you. Other things you can do along those lines is, of course, you can jump around a little bit if you would like, just kind of get your body moving a little bit. Like you can see I'm squirrely, like I'm all over the place, when I'm live streaming, in terms of, me moving around. Every now and then I'll just kind of chill and talk. But I move around a lot. Part of that is because I'm just squirrely anyway and wiggly. But in addition to that, it also helps keep me, keeps me going, because when I'm moving around, it keeps my blood pumping, and it just keeps me, keeps my energy going, so to speak. It makes me tired after the streams if it's a long stream. But besides that, though, it just keeps me, keeps the energy flowing in my body, so that I don't kind of stagnate during a stream, which happens sometimes. But basically, like by taking those deep breaths, and by, yelling, if you want to do that, it can really help release some of that pre-stream anxiety. And then as soon as your stream starts, when you come in, you're communicating in the way that you communicate. You come in, you're bringing the heat, so to speak. Another thing is to watch and critique your streams when you're finished, so that you can look for places to improve. Now, if you have never streamed before, then in that situation, stream privately. Like I talked about in tip number 1, stream privately. And then after your private stream is finished, go back and critique. And literally take notes on your own stream. Hey, what's up, Brian G. Johnson? Go back, and Paul Peck, what's up? Costume CEO, nice to see you in here. Sweeney Dunstan. But basically what you want to do is you want to go into your live stream and you want to take notes, and you want to say, okay, during this stream, I was really slow on the intro. Maybe I could have done that a little bit better. It took me a while. I was doing a lot of shuffling around during this section. So next time, I got to make sure that I'm a little bit more organized, with where I'm putting things, because, I didn't even realize how much I was shuffling around. And therefore, I know now that I need to correct that. So make sure that you watch some of your live stream replays. You don't have to watch them all. But when you're first getting started, or when you're trying to improve something, then definitely make sure that you watch them, so that you can look for things like that. And just by doing that alone, you're going to become a much better live streamer, regardless of the platform that you're streaming on. Same thing with making videos. Like if you watch your videos a decent amount after you put them together, then you'll start noticing like, yeah, you know what, I could actually tighten that up a little bit. I could take that part out. Wow, I didn't even realize I say that particular thing a lot. Maybe I need to, break that up a little bit and not say that same thing all the time. Another thing I should say is practice, of course. The more that you live stream and the more that you make video content, the more you make podcasts, whatever it is that you do in life, as we all know, the more you do it, the more comfortable that you're going to get, right? So because of that, you want to make sure that you stream a lot, especially if you're getting started. And the reason for that is because that will help you work the muscle in terms of all the different things that you have to focus on while you're live streaming. So for example, in this situation, I'm looking at the camera and I'm focused on the camera, right? I've got some side chats going on here. I've got YouTube over here. I've got Streamyard over here. I've got my notes right here in front of me. And what I'm doing as I'm talking to you is I'm kind of queuing up in my brain what's going to be coming next. I'm looking for things that might be happening in the chat that I might need to address, or an extra tip that somebody might have that I can share. I'm looking for things like that. So because of that, that takes practice in order to be able to do all that and do it in a fluid way to where you can fully control, what's going on. And you can also monitor everything that's going on so that you can make sure that you keep everything flowing, so to speak. But practice, the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it, especially if you're just getting started, because if you're just getting started, it's a skill that you have to develop. So the more you do it, the faster it's going to be. If you go a week between live streams, then you might forget everything that you learned in that first live stream by the time you hit that second one. But if you stream like every other day, or every day, or a couple times or a few times a week, then by the time that first week gets done, that next week, when that loop starts again, you're going to be in a much better position because you're going to be already better at live streaming because you've already done it, 3 or 4 times in that situation. Another thing that will be helpful to you, and this goes outside of the list of tips that I have here, but another thing that can be beneficial as well is communicating just a little bit louder than you normally would when you're streaming. Now, of course, you can communicate in your natural way. That's fine because you want to be yourself. However, one thing that can be beneficial is to just kind of bring everything up just a little bit in terms of your volume. And the reason for that is so that, streams can take away some of the energy that you have. So when you're communicating, if I were to take it to just this way to where, maybe I was talking this way, it's fine. Does the trick. Right. It does the thing. Like if my girlfriend was in here, I would be talking to her like this right now. Right. But and it does the trick and it's fine. But when I amp it up a little bit, what that does is I'm projecting my voice. And when I'm projecting my voice, it helps me come across more confidently. And it also helps keep my energy up, which is also a win. But it also kind of makes up for that lack of energy, or not lack of energy, but the little bit of energy that the live stream ends up taking away, or that the video content itself ends up taking away as well. But by projecting your voice like that, one of the things that it does help with is that confidence that's being picked up on the other side of the microphone. Because, when you are just talking, it's important to know that you are you're talking into a microphone. And because of that, everything is being processed and you're running it through all these different things. And because of that, even if you're going directly into Streamyard, they're still processing it and all that. So when you project into it, the actual signal itself that is going into the microphone is also just a rock solid signal as well, that the software or the hardware, whatever it is that you're using for your voice, that whatever it is, it can process everything in a better way because you're giving it just a nice, solid, rock solid signal. Now, again, you don't have to do that in terms of, going louder. It just helps, in terms of the confidence and just in terms of your energy levels as well. Let's see here. Jashim Jalal says, how long can you stay amped? My record right now is right around like 7 or 8 hours, give or take, straight. So that's my current time right now. So let's see here, because I've just we've just shut it down after that, and that's starting the stream like at nighttime local time, because I'm in Thailand. So that's starting a stream at 9 o'clock and streaming into the AM to start running out of energy in the AM. But the other thing before we get into the Q&A here is to be yourself, focus on being yourself. So again, you want to amp it up just a tad, just a little bit. You don't have to go as overboard as I do, but or not overboard, but you don't have to amp it up as much as I do, but amp it up just a little bit for the sake of that energy. But just make sure that you are being yourself though, because the last thing that you want to do is develop like a persona around your live stream, and then you have to do that all the time, and then you start getting like, bored of it or whatever it happens to be. Like when you can be the version of yourself that you are, or that you want to be, then in that situation, you lean into that, and that's what you always are in that situation, and you're totally fine with it, doing it for years and years and years and years, because you're still being yourself. You're being authentic. You're being you, right? The youest version of you that you can be is what you're being in that situation. And just by doing that alone, you can, the confidence in yourself can grow, and how you're actually, communicating with the camera is also another thing. Now, another side tip that I want to share with you as well is a lot of live streamers, especially if you have scripts, will be looking all over the place, right? And like, instead of looking at the camera, they'll be here reading the script, blah, 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 blah. And because of that, they're not actually looking at the people that are watching the live stream. Now, if the nature of your live stream is to where people come in and they listen to it more, kind of like a live podcast or something, then in that case, not as big of a deal. But if you're doing a live stream on video where people are actually coming in and watching your live stream, then in that situation, look at them. Right? Talk to them. Now, of course, depending on the type of content that you have, let's say that you were, doing some type of like, woodworking, and you were live streaming that. Well, in that situation, of course, you'd probably have like an overhead cam, and on that overhead cam, you would be doing whatever it was that you were doing, with your project. However, from time to time, have just like a webcam or your phone or whatever it is, to where you talk to the people that are actually in your stream, to where you're actually looking at them right in the eye. Like, I'm looking you right in your eye right now. That's who I'm looking at right in your eye. But the idea there is just to, create that connection by looking into the camera. And that just by itself can be a hurdle. And the reason it's a hurdle is because you have all this stuff going on. So, I mean, it's fine to look away, but you want to spend the majority of your time looking at the camera because you're talking to people, right? Just like if you're, on Skype or something like that. It's a little bit loose there because you're not actually, you're having that conversation with like buddies and all of that. But when you are looking at the camera, it's just a more confident move, so to speak, than if you are, reading the script, or you're just, reading the chat all the time and things like that. So just make sure that you're looking at the camera. But another challenging part about that can be viewfinders. So if you have a viewfinder, like in this situation, I have one up on top of the camera. And because of that, it could be tempting to look up at that viewfinder because that's going on, and then I can see myself there, make sure I'm framed right and all of that. Or I know on some cameras, the viewfinder will come out to the right, or you might have a monitor somewhere, and it might be tempting to like look over it yourself, a lot while you're streaming, but you want to make sure that you are looking directly at the camera while you're streaming, because if you're not, then you're breaking that connection with the people that are actually watching the stream, when you are talking to people. So just kind of recap these, and then we'll get into the Q&A for anybody that's coming in late. The ways to fix your camera confidence is: 1, experiment with private streams first if you've never streamed before, so that you can watch them later. 2, understand that we all make mistakes, and it's part of the gig when you're live streaming. So don't feel stupid. Don't feel like you're doing something wrong. Don't feel like you messed up. Don't feel anything like that. It's just a little tiny bump in the road. It's not even a bump in the road, really. Like, everybody screws up. So just kind of embrace that idea and just think to yourself like, hey, you know what? I screwed up. It's live, whatever. People are tolerant, more tolerant of live. So I'm just going to keep on doing whatever it is that I'm doing here with this stream. Have a dedicated streaming area so that it's familiar to you and so that it's comfortable for you. Try using bullet points instead of scripts or teleprompters or notes. Wear comfortable clothes, right? And to take this one up a notch as well, I like to shower beforehand, because I like, before I stream, if I'm going to do a long stream, like my Saturday live streams that I do, because they're long. So for those, even these, I'll typically shower for. So just so you know, I'm like super clean right now. But basically, like, I'll shower beforehand, just so in addition to the, me being in comfortable clothes, my environment being comfortable and all of that, I'm also clean and, squeaky clean. So I feel good and comfortable and fresh and all that stuff before the live stream even starts as well. And I know in some cases it's not going to be possible because you might be streaming for work or something like that. But if you can, at least for me, that's something that also helps me in terms of, just being, super engrossed or sunk into my environment, so to speak, when I'm streaming. Let's see here. Listen to your favorite music before you stream, for the sake of, just kind of getting into that vibe. Get to know your tech so that you don't have to worry about something going wrong. Instead of acknowledging that you're there in front of a bunch of people, just try to think, if you have trouble with that, just try to think, hey, I'm just talking to a buddy here. So I just need to look at the camera and talk to my friend, put a picture next to the camera or under the camera, on top of the camera, wherever it is that you need to put it. If it just helps you, remember those ideas, focus on delivering the value to the viewers that are watching, instead of focusing on the fears that you're personally having. Just by doing that itself will help you overcome a lot of the problems that you have, because then not only do you change how you're looking at what's going on, but you're also changing in that situation your perspective of what you're there for, right? Because when you are thinking all these things about yourself, then the stream becomes all about you, like, hey, I'm here, I'm streaming, blah, blah, blah. But when it's focused on the value of the people that are watching in that situation, you understand clearly that, hey, the reason that I'm streaming here is so I can deliver this specific value to the people that are watching my content. So therefore, let me focus on that instead of focusing on all the things that I'm worried about or inconfident about. And let me see how, whatever it is that I have to do in order to deliver that, that value to the people that are watching the stream. Like, that's what I need to make sure that I'm focusing on. Limit distractions when possible. Using a Philips Hue light or something similar as a busy light can be helpful. If no one is there, make sure you're streaming for the replay. Also, keep your stream shorter, which is a little side tip on that one as well. If you are anxious before your live stream, breathe, a nice amount, take 10 nice deep breaths, get yourself kind of chilled out and ready to, take on the live stream, or yell. Into your arm, or into a pillow, or, you can just yell out loud if you want to. Your neighbors might get a little bit weird about it, but you can. Watch and critique your stream so that you can know anything that you mess up on or anything that you can do better. Practice, of course. The more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to become, and be yourself. Because, nobody else can be you. You can only be the you-less version of yourself. And because of that, lean into that when it comes to overcoming camera shyness and just getting, way more comfortable on camera. So with all of that out of the way, squeaky clean. Alameen says, squeaky, absolutely, squeaky clean. So with all of that, does anybody have any questions? If you have a question, just do a hashtag question, and then put your question, and then I can and then I'll be able to pull it up. Or just put question. You don't have to put a hashtag, actually, because I don't know if it'll catch it in the system. So so just put question and then put your question after that, and then I'll get them as we go through here. So right here we have Wraith saying, Nick, do you put on a character? No. So what I do, anybody that's met me in person, I hung out with Paul Peck, I've hung out with Doug Hewson, hung out with Brian G. Johnson. Who else in the chat here have I hung out with in person? Yeah, I think that's it from what I'm seeing right here at a quick glance. But basically, when I'm in person, I'm the same way. I just amp it up just a tad in terms of the energy that I bring. But when I'm in person, like in my real life, like I'm me. Like I'm not playing a character of sorts. I just do my thing and I do me. And anybody that's met me in person can verify that as well. Let's see here. Next up on the list, we have question. What do you think about standing or sitting during streams? Great question. So because of this, because of what you're talking about, I actually got, this is a sit stand desk as well, so that when I'm live streaming, if my energy starts to go down, then in that situation, I can basically raise the desk up, and then I can stream here with, standing, and then that can also help with my energy as well. Now, when it comes to video content, personally, I'm way more charged after I finish making videos. If I'm standing when I'm making the content, if I'm sitting, let's say I batch record, 3 or 4 videos. If I'm sitting down for that, by the time I'm done, I'm whooped. I'm like, whoo. But if I'm standing up, I could make 10 more videos, and it's not even a big deal. Standing energizes me when I'm making content up to a certain point. Now, if I was streaming for 3 hours straight or 6 hours straight, in that situation, going back and forth is definitely the win. That's why I got this. But if I am streaming for like an hour, in that case, standing, fine, sitting, fine, either one, it's fine in that particular situation. But the difference for me personally from standing and sitting is pretty massive in terms of the energy. 2 Quacks and 5 Clucks says that we've hung out in spirit. Nice. Let's see here. Human City Junction says, do you put your bullet points on your monitor, paper, or a teleprompter? You can do either, whatever's the most efficient for you and how it is that you put your streams together. For me personally, because I have the monitor space, so because of that, I'll put it on the monitor itself. So the camera's here, directly underneath the camera is my bullet points, and that's so that I don't have to look over here in order to say whatever my next thing is. I can just glance down, and it's just a quick glance to see where I'm at, and then I can say whatever that tip is directly to the camera as well. As a quick tip, if you do stand for your live streams, get a anti-fatigue mat. It'll make a world of difference. The anti-fatigue mat, it's basically a thing that you stand on, and that anti-fatigue mat will help you in terms of just getting worn out from just standing in the same place all the time, especially if you're not moving around a lot. Human City Junction says I do the same thing. Sit stand desk. My entire rig is on my desk, and I'm burning out the motor. I hear you there. Let's see here. Next up on our list. Okay. So the next question is, how do I fix my streams? Better video and audio. We have satellite internet out here in the country. Right now, our lives are horrible. Yeah. So Brian G. Johnson, who stopped by here, I'm not sure if he's still here or not, but Brian G. Johnson had a similar problem where he was getting satellite beamed in, and because of that, his internet just sucked, and it made it to where he couldn't live stream for a while. So of course, because you're not having to. Well, technically you are. So even with Streamyard, you do have to push the stream up and you're pulling it down as well because you're, monitoring everything. If you're monitoring, for like YouTube, for example. So because of that, I'm not really sure. So, better video and audio is always helpful for making the stream, look and sound better. And audio is half of the video experience. So if you have to invest in one over the other, I would invest in audio first, video second. Just because, if your stream looks great, but it sounds horrible, people are going to leave. If it is okay in how it looks, but it sounds great, people will stick around a little bit more. But yeah, in the situation of live streaming, where you do have that satellite internet and you're out in the country, that can be definitely, pose an issue at times. The question from Learn with Sukin says, how many monitors do you need while streaming? Technically, you can do it with your phone where you don't need any monitor at all. So basically with Streamyard, for example, you can use your phone and you can stream directly from your phone without any monitor at all. So then you would just have the camera on you and you would see everything that you're looking at inside of Streamyard. Now, if you were using, bullet points or something like that, then in that case, if you had a tablet, which I've also done in the past, if you have a tablet that you can reference or another mobile device so that you keep your notes on it, that sort of thing, or just write it out in paper, then that way you can just do everything with your phone. You don't even need additional monitors. I just do this because this is also where I work. So because of that, I'll edit videos here, I'll edit music here, I'll make graphics here, I do all that stuff. So having this big wide monitor, it helps me for streaming. And it also helps me in terms of, my productivity as well. Let's see here. Thor Haven Farm says, can't wait to get one of those desks. My girlfriend has one. It's awesome. Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. Spoiled now that I have it. Yeah, spoiled now that I have it. Like I got this other thing delivered the other day. And it's just like a flat, standing height thing over there. It could be used as a desk. And that one, it doesn't go up and down. It's just up. So when I'm using that one, I'm kind of spoiled here. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could just kind of sit down. But even with that, I use a bar stool instead of a chair here. I used to use a chair at the other place, but I moved recently. So I use a bar stool instead of a chair so that I don't get comfortable and just sink into the chair and do that because I want to make sure that after a certain period of time, I'm uncomfortable sitting so that I'll stand up because it's really easy for me to sit in front of a computer all day long and not move. Let's see here. Next question that we have is from Kazandor says, do you have a separate YouTube window in order to see your super chats, or does StreamYard also show the color coded comments? StreamYard shows the color coded comments as well. But in addition to that, because sometimes I mess up in terms of like in my live streams, when I'm streaming on my channel, I'll have, by the time the stream's done, I'll have like 7,000 people that have went through the stream. So there's a lot of comments that are happening. So sometimes a super chat will come in. A bunch of super chats might come in during one, like the span of like a minute or two. And because of that, I might still be working on one question while all the other super chats are coming in. And then by the time I get done with that question or maybe the next one, then some other super chats have fallen off where I don't see them. So because of that, I'll also have my monetization area of my YouTube channel open to where I can look directly at the super chats that have come in. I just refresh the page and then I can see it there. Yeah. So Adam's exploit says I use a Google Doc and I have my outline open or I tab it open on screen. Yeah, that's what I have right in front of me too, the Google Docs. And a cool thing, just a little hack for everybody, is if you do any types of live streams, if in the future, if you are going to make, video content, or you're going to do presentations around similar topics that you talk about, then in that situation, if you use Google Docs, you can start putting all this stuff into folders, like, hey, this is a video, this is a live stream, this is a presentation, and the outlines for everything. And then when somebody reaches out and they're like, hey, could you talk about this? Or if you're like, hey, I need to make a video about this for whatever, then you can reference that as like a starting document to put together the next piece of content that you're going to make. Let's see here. So next up, is uploading once a week okay? And can you upload shorts with around 20 to 30 subs? Yes. So you can upload shorts. You can have a news channel with no content on it at all and upload shorts to it. No problem at all. But basically all you do in that situation is you upload a vertical video that is under 1 minute long. And when you upload that video, you just need to put hashtag shorts in the title and description or the description in order for their system to know that you are wanting it to be a short. If you are if you're in India, you can do it directly from your phone. If you're in the US, starting in March, you're going to be able to do it directly from your phone there as well. Let's see here. Human City Junction says Streamyard takes significantly more resources than OBS. I disagree. So basically, once I found Streamyard, I abandoned the other live streaming software that I was using. And the reason for that is because this is almost non-existent on my computer. So now I have the ATM Mini Pro, and I have, the other stuff here, but I've had the other stuff. But in terms of the like the processing and all that's required to run the stream, this pales in comparison to what I had, the processing that I was needing for OBS. Streamlabs, OBS, and OBS, because we build in a bunch of scenes for all the different cameras and all that stuff, and this is just a bajillion times lighter on the computer. The bajillion is not a technical term, but it's not an exact percentage, but it's way lighter on the computer. Let's see here. Next up on our list, we have, what's your favorite type of content that you like to create? Do you portray it in your live streams? That's good. So for me, I love streaming. I'm like a live streaming addict. But the only downside of live streaming is when I start live streaming, it's hard for me to stop because I enjoy it. I like helping people. And because of that, like the initial information that I'll give for a live stream, like streaming here, for example, I have the initial information that I share here on the stream that's on topic, but then we start getting into the Q&A. I'm able to answer very specific questions that people are just curious about or people need direct help with. And because of that, especially on my channel, when I start streaming, it's really hard for me to stop. Like on my channel, I have channel memberships enabled as well. And when people become members there, then they also get to participate in a members only live stream that we do every week in Facebook group. We use StreamYard for that too. And in that particular Facebook group, my intention is always, okay, 1 hour. But sometimes I'll stream in there for 2 hours, 3 hours. I think last week we might've went for 2 hours, but I have to put notes up to remind myself, okay, dude, 1 hour, come on, you got other things that you have to do, right? Because if not, then the things that I meant to do that day, I have to push them to the side and put them over to the next day because I spent way too much time streaming. But I absolutely love live streaming. I love making video content. I love podcasting. I like just making stuff. I dabble in music as well. I'm not a musician in any way, shape, or form, like a real one. All my stuff is electronic, but I also like to create there as well. Let's see here. So next up, do you have multiple sets for live and recorded content? That's been my biggest hurdle, setting up and breaking down. That's a great question. So for me personally, I've always tried to have a dedicated place. When I first started my YouTube channel, I made that dedicated place right in my living room. So I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I know I'm going to be uploading, a decent amount of videos. So what I did is I went to the hardware store and I basically got a PVC tube and I made a frame that I could put black photography cloth over top of and white photography cloth. And that was my dedicated area. So what I was able to do there is I wasn't fully set up, but I was able to have it to where the camera was kind of pulled out to where I wouldn't, bump into it. And the lights were pulled away to where I didn't have to bump into them. And I put tape on the ground. So then I would just pick them up, move them back, throw in a card and a battery and then go for it. So it was just a really quick move instead of a full setup. So for me, like this light here, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see it here, like this light in terms of what I do. So I'm so dedicated to what it is that I do that I literally have I had a truss built. So I have a truss going up this wall over here. And then that's what this camera is actually mounted to. And then going across the ceiling where I have one light there, another light there facing in that direction. So if I want to record content that way, this right here, there's another pole coming out that this particular light here is also connected to. So that I have that entire thing to where it's permanent. So all I have to do when I'm ready to live stream is I just turn this on, turn on, you know, because the chill vibe with the lights and stuff, those are always on. But basically I'll turn this on, and then this light that's right down here in the floor projecting onto the background so that I can have that little bit of a glow behind me right here in this shot, that little bit of a glow right there. That light I'll turn on as well, but everything else is on when, you know, before I go live. But yeah, having the dedicated place for it is definitely advantageous. One thing that I'm personally dealing with right now is that for the video content, I like having a dedicated set for the video content. And like what you're seeing on the screen right now, this is cool for live streaming, but I'm not sold on it yet for making video content. So because of that, I'm not 100% sure exactly what I'm going to do in terms of a set for the video content, because I just moved into this place. So I'm thinking of mounting a camera over here. If I mount another camera over here, then in that situation, you know, you would get the full view of all this stuff, you know, over here. So I might end up doing that. It's still a work in progress, and I'm not 100% sure. Some of my original plans that I was going to do, they kind of fell through once I started getting everything in here. Let's see here. This monitor makes it tough too. So like, for example, in my old place, this monitor was off to the side, and I had it like an L desk. So basically, I would do all my work stuff over here. So this monitor was there, and then I would turn here to just a clean desk with nothing but a laptop on it, my streaming stuff. And then I would do the stream here. But now I just have the one desk. And since I have the one desk, now I don't have like that dedicated area in front of me for a camera. I mean, I have this one, but in terms of, you know, the height and everything being right for me to just be able to talk directly to the camera for a video. Because for live streaming, it's a little bit high. For video content, I don't want it being high like that. Like I want it to be even when I'm making video content. Being picky, right? Let's see here. Next up on our list, we've got for our questions. Let's see here. So we have Jashim saying, "You're smart. Have you considered doing this professionally?" This is what I do, man. This is what I do. I've been a full-time content creator for years now. Let's see here. Should I change my YouTube name? I've been mistaken for a YouTuber with a similar name. If that YouTuber with a similar name has a sizable channel, then yeah. Also, if they have the custom URL to where you put in youtube.com/frugalgranny and they're the one that comes up, then in that situation, yes, I would change the channel name, because one thing that can be advantageous for you is to have a unique channel name on YouTube. And I can tell you right now, it is really hard to come up with a really good, unique name. Lucky for you, though, you have the granny thing at the end. So that's going to reduce the amount of competition that you have by a lot. So because of that, you know, coming up with another name, you just got to come up with another way to say frugal that nobody else is using, and then have that as part of your name, and then you should be okay. But yeah, I would definitely change it if there's another channel that has that same name. Let's see here. Kimberly Anderson says, if I use Streamyard for my first YouTube video, will my video automatically be saved to my YouTube channel? No. So basically how Streamyard works is they do have the recording feature inside of Streamyard. So you can hit record instead of setting up a broadcast, you hit skip record only, you press that, and then it takes you into the studio like it normally would. But instead of hitting go live, you hit record. And then when you record it, after you're finished, then you just stop the recording, and then it's going to show a little piece of text that says links. And then you click on the links, and then it's going to give you the option to download the video and or download the audio as well. So you just need to download the video. It includes the audio. But if you want to download the audio for, let's say, like a podcast or something like that, you can do that as well. Let's see here. So Human City Junction says, why did you choose your name for your channel instead of a brand. When I first started my channel, I didn't know what I was going to do with the channel. And using the name was just an easier thing for me. Cause I didn't know, I didn't have a theme for it. I was like, okay, I'm just going to start making videos. And I didn't have a theme for the channel. So because of that, I decided to just use my name, and I'm glad that I did, because one, it just makes it easy for people, cause I go to a lot of conferences and things like that when COVID's not going on. So because of that, it makes it easy for people when I see them at conferences and stuff to know who I am, instead of saying oh, hey, you're that guy from, whatever YouTube channel. It's like, oh, hey, you're Nick, hey, what's up, Nick? It just makes all that stuff easier. So, doing the name is great, but it has caused privacy issues. Like, for example, my Skype, people just randomly call me from time to time because, my name is my Skype name. So because of that, I'll just, occasionally get Skype calls and that kind of stuff. So I do get, privacy violations from time to time because of it. But for the most part, it's fine. And I'm glad that I took that path. But if you are somebody that's like, hey, should I do my name or should I do a channel name? One thing that I do recommend that you do is just think long-term. Like for me, building the personal brand and deciding eventually that that's what I wanted to do was a really good move. And that's something to where if you're like, hey, I'm going to try to build my personal brand so that fill in the blank there, then in that situation, definitely use your name. But if you're like, hey, in the future, I might have other people making content on this channel. I might eventually sell this channel as an asset as part of my company. And, this website that I built around it and all this other stuff. So because of that, I'm just going to use the channel name so that it's not dependent on me being a part of the content that's there. So, just consider those things. Great question, though. Let's see here. Coming up with a name is so hard. Took me weeks to find something no one else had. Yeah, it's worth it though. Once you find that name, this, a side hobby of mine is that, right? A side hobby of mine is trying to, I'll hop on, different domain registers and things like that. And I'll just type in things that are available on .coms. So I just look around for .coms and just try to come up with just clever things for .coms. It's a hobby of mine. But sometimes, if starting a channel or helping somebody else with a channel name or something, I'll just hop in and I can easily spend an hour on a domain registrar, just looking for available .coms around one idea. I just love doing that. I don't know why. Let's see here. Stacy Morgan says she's glad that she uses her name. Channel's about me, but I am the YouTube wall. Difficult name to pronounce. Brand name is the way to go for me. Yeah, that's a win. If you have a difficult name to where it's hard for people to recommend your content, yeah, then in that case, you definitely want to make a channel. Let's see here. How to avoid copyright but still play popular music. There are services that you can use for that. I think Licked is one. You still get the copyright strike, but with the copyright strike, and you got to pay for it, right? But when you get the copyright strike, then in that situation, you basically dispute the strike and then it gets undone. So it's a little bit of a hurdle. I wouldn't even do that. I think it's too much of a hurdle. It adds to the work that you have to do around your channel when you could be spending that time, doing other things that are going to move your channel forward instead of using popular music. But yeah, I would avoid using popular music at all costs because it's just not worth it. Right? If you own the rights to everything that you're putting out on the internet, or you're paying for the rights to use stuff through Epidemic Sound or something like that, then in that situation, you don't have to worry about it. And the last thing that you want is to put in a bunch of work on your YouTube channel and a law change or something like that to where all of a sudden now it's not okay to use popular music anymore, and then you end up losing the channel over it because you're using other people's stuff. I mean, it's not okay to use popular music. Don't take that out of context. It is not okay to use popular music in your YouTube videos, but there are services like Licked, for example, that do provide that as a service, but you got to pay for that. So if you're going to pay for that, you might as well just pay for Epidemic Sound or something. Supplemental Seminary says, can you talk about your audio setup and best StreamYard audio setting? So yeah, when it comes to my audio setup, it's really simple. I have the Shure SM7B. That is routing around the desk here. You can actually see the cable coming out right down here. That's routing around the desk. I'm going to get an overhead for this explanation in the future. I just haven't gotten there yet. But this is all just routing through a Rodecaster Pro, which you'll see sitting right over here. This is an awesome device. It processes the voice. It adds dynamics processing to it, adds noise, a noise gate to it, adds a little bit of what they call big bottom. It adds an exciter to kind of, get the high ends going, but it basically just makes the voice sound solid and consistent. So, that's kind of my routing for that. And then that plugs directly into the computer. On the StreamYard side, what I do for my audio settings there is I turn off stereo audio. I turn off automatically adjust mic volume, but I leave echo cancellation on because I also bring in guests from time to time. And I don't like to wear headphones when I stream just because I find it uncomfortable. So because of that, it's fine if I'm streaming myself, but if I have other people on, then I want to be able to hear them through my monitors and not through headphones. And that particular feature cuts down on that. Let's see here. YouTube has been deleting my comments for some reason. I haven't blocked any words or have allowed all comments. They're just simple comments without any harsh words. What am I doing wrong? It's not necessarily that you're doing something wrong. It can be the people that are commenting that are doing something wrong. So basically, YouTube has a spam and misleading metadata policy is what you would actually Google for this. But one of the things that you will find there is that repetitive comments on YouTube, to where you essentially just copy and paste the same comment, or you're always saying the same thing. Those actually can be hit as spam. And when those are hit as spam, then that particular channel that's doing that, those are going to end up going into the held for review. Same exact thing for sub and any type of activity like that. If somebody's going around YouTube and they're doing sub for sub, YouTube's going to detect that, and then they're going to start putting their comments in the held for review instead of having them in public view. The people that left the comment, they're going to see it, but nobody else is going to see it. They're going to be, it's all going to be held for review because they are literally spamming. They're literally spamming the platform with that. So because of that, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. Let's see here. So next up, we've got Kazandor719 says, any word on StreamYard getting with TubeBuddy to create broadcaster faster with a few clicks? So if you're going to create your broadcast, I don't think you can get any faster than StreamYard. So basically, they wouldn't need TubeBuddy for this. StreamYard can do that themselves. They already do. So basically, the process with StreamYard is you just, create a new stream, you fill out all the metadata, and then you go into the studio, you add your camera to it, and then you can go live directly from there. Now, of course, you can also go into YouTube and do some extra settings and things like that, which you should, but you can hop into StreamYard with just a few clicks, and you don't even need TubeBuddy for that. TubeBuddy's a totally different thing. That's for growing your and growing and managing your YouTube channel. It's not for live streaming. Let's see here. Thorhaven Farm says, same as Flaming Pig. It seems like YouTube automatically deletes some comments. For example, we have fans from France and Quebec, and French comments seem to disappear. Yeah, so in that situation, it could be what they're saying in French that's causing them to disappear. There could be a trigger word that is causing YouTube to catch that and put it into the held for review. But you can find those comments. If you go into comments held for review, or the ones that are set as likely spam, then you'll find those comments. And that by itself will tell you why it is that they're deleted. You'll find similarities in those comments, but it's how those people are interacting on the platform that are causing their comments to be tossed into that area. Let's see here. Have you checked your held for review comment sections? It says Paul Peck. Let's see here. Will StreamYard be launching an app soon for mobile streamers, or is it solely browser based? So here's the thing. Check this out. So let me see. I'm gonna do this here in real time. Let me see if I can do this quickly. You know what? Actually, I think I can just go to. I think I just go directly here in my browser. Here, hold on, real quick. So with StreamYard, one of the really cool things about StreamYard is it's already mobile friendly. So I'm going to go in here now and share this invite link with myself. And then I'll come in on a mobile device. Let me go to my Gmail account, get that puppy going here really quick. Compose, put in my email, and then click this and go. Now I will open it up here, and you can access. You can go directly to StreamYard and log in and do it all that way. But because I'm live right now, it'll just be easier for me to do it this way. So I'm going to come here. I got to copy the link because I'm on an iPhone. I have to do it in Safari. And then once I copy that link, I just go to my phone, and you can see how fast all of this is coming together. I just copy that to my phone, paste and go. Turn it sideways because, you know. Now there might be some echo and stuff like that that comes in. I'm actually going to mute myself so that we don't have to worry about it. But I call this my Nick and there we go. I call this my Nick and motion cam. But yeah, so then you can see right here, I'm coming in directly from my mobile device as a guest. But if I wanted to, I could also come in from my mobile device as the main, you know, with this being the main and only camera that I use as well. If I was going to do that, then in that situation, I would use something like Filmic Pro to stream into StreamYard so that I could fully adjust my camera settings to make sure that the image looks as good as possible in terms of contrast and things like that. And of course, I would set it up framing wise so that it looks, you know, so it looks a little bit better that way as well. But anyway, you get the idea there, but you can go ahead and do that right now. Let's see here. Hey, we got Aussie K-pop mom. High five and fist bump to you. Go ahead and give you some applause here. They did their first live stream ever tonight. Oh, using StreamYard. Oh, and it makes it so easy. I was so happy the way it went. Looking forward to creating more of a community on the channel via live streams. Awesome. Nice work for you. High five and fist bump if it was your first live stream. High five and fist bump anyway, just because you use StreamYard for the first time. So either or, congratulations to you on either using StreamYard for the first time or for having that first live stream. Nice work. Let's see here. So on iPhone, you need to use Safari over Chrome. Yeah, when you try to go in with Chrome, for whatever reason, it only lets you do it with the Chrome. Let's see here. The comments with the word hot gets deleted automatically in one of my meme videos, and it's not visible and held for review. Yeah, so even if you haven't blocked it, so yeah, it's probably just the specific people doing that, because I know that there are some bots running around YouTube that are saying that sort of thing as well. Oh, you know, you look so hot, things like that. So because of that, they might just be blocking that word just in general, if that's what you're noticing. She says it was the first live stream ever. Awesome. Nice work. Welcome to live streaming. Yeah, yeah, welcome to live streaming. It's awesome, isn't it? Let's see here. So next up, if you do multiple live stream interviews, does it affect the YouTube notifications if you schedule the streams in advance of StreamYard, or should you only schedule one at a time? So basically with StreamYard, or not StreamYard, but with YouTube, you can only send out, or YouTube systems will only send out 3 notifications for your YouTube channel within a 24-hour period. So because of that, when you go live, people will typically get that notification. When you are scheduling, some people will get that notification, like your most engaged people that are typically hanging out in your live streams. So if you are publishing those and you want to let people know that you are going to have those streams, then I would just do 3 at a time. I wouldn't do any more than 3 at a time. And that's so that you are only pushing out those 3 within that 24-hour period. Now, of course, you could do 3 every day. But I personally wouldn't do that, because I wouldn't want to have a bunch of those live streams lined up on the channel, because those live streams will be showing up all over the platform, letting people know that you're live at all these different times, and it might make things confusing for your viewers. Nice. We got Maker Viking, also a long live streamer. Love it. Feel your pain on the 5, not even pain, just feel your vibe on the 5.5 hours of streaming. Saying hosted a live stream 2 days ago, StreamYard. First part of a 3D printer build, 5.5 hours of streaming. That's awesome. Yeah, on the notification thing, yeah, that's definitely interesting. Yeah, so with notifications, YouTube notifications, they go out to 3 notifications max within a 24-hour period. All right. Okay, so I think that does it for our questions today. So if anybody else has another question, I'll go ahead and answer a few more. If anybody has any questions they want to drop in here, if not, then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Let's see here. Have you found a way to use Stream Deck with StreamYard? So I use Stream Deck in terms of triggering sounds for my Saturday live stream that I do. Other people have used Stream Deck in order to make transitions, like scene transitions and stuff in StreamYard. If you are on Facebook, make sure that you join the Streamyard community Facebook group, because there's actually like because basically you have to add code and all these macros and stuff. But all of that stuff is shared in the Facebook community. So look for Streamyard community on Facebook, and you'll find that post in there where they show you how to do that. Damon Warren says, are community posts counted as notifications? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I really don't know, because with the notification for those, they're not actually, no, they're not, because when you are publishing something, it actually sends that notification out. So as long as people have notifications enabled, then in that situation, they might get a push notification on their phone or something like that. Whereas with a community post, that's just going to show up on your channel and on the homepage. So because of that, no, there wouldn't be an actual notification that would go out for that. I'm not using my laptop in this stream, Kimberly, right now. So basically my setup this is my setup. I have a big beefy desktop computer down there, because I also, make videos as well. So because of that, I want a computer where I can just chew through content if I want to. But I do have a laptop that's powering this screen over here. So I have one running right now. It's just not this. It's only powering the screen right here, so I can have the Streamyard. So I can have the Streamyard logo over there on that screen. Would you recommend Anchor for podcasts? I use Captivate FM for my podcast. So since it's something that I use, I would recommend that. I used to use Spreaker. It was okay. But I personally found Captivate FM. They're constantly adding like cool new features to what it is that they're doing to help podcasters, get followers and all that, or listeners, I should say. And even though Anchor is free, I believe, Captivate, they have some really cool features that are worth it, in my opinion. That's one of the things when it comes to all of this stuff is, some things people, they have trouble in terms of like, oh, I got to pay for that. But in reality, it's like, if this is something that you're doing, investing in what it is that you're doing, is definitely something that you want to consider for some things. The Urban Prepper says, if you do multiple live interviews, does it affect the YouTube notifications if you schedule the streams in advance? Oh, we did that one already. Let's see here. Yeah, that Facebook group, you can find a lot of really cool information in that Facebook group too. They also post in there when they have like feature updates and things like that. So for anybody here that is a StreamYard user, you need to make sure that you're in the StreamYard community Facebook group. Zane Shaw, hey, what's up, man? Nice to see you in here. Says, does YouTube treat live streams different than regular uploads? No, but humans do. And because of that, the same rules apply in terms of, you have to be able to get, response. So, in terms of like, how they gauge the metrics on them, they might, but in terms of, showing them to more and more people, no. So like a live stream replay, you can get lots and lots of views on live stream replays if everything is structured right. And that structure typically comes down to recording a video live. So instead of it being like it's a live stream, you record everything just like it's a piece of video content. And then when you publish that, it's still able to be consumed like it's a piece of video content. And as long as people respond to it in a positive way, then in that situation, YouTube will continue to show it to more people. As long as they continue to click on it and watch it for an acceptable or competitive amount of time, then they'll continue to keep showing it to people, and people will keep watching it. And that just keeps looping until they meet saturation for the people that they think is a good fit for that content. And then at that time, once they meet that saturation, then they'll, their system will stop giving it impressions because people stop responding to it, which is what causes that, that to run out. Let's see here. For the future, can you talk about work and living in Thailand, cost of equipment, internet connection requirements, issues working on the other side of the world, etc.? Interesting. Yeah. So just a real quick blurb on that is that, let's see here. Cost of equipment is higher because of the import taxes here. So everything that I buy, I either have to ship it in because it might not be available here, or I have to buy it here at a higher price. On the flip side of that, labor is cheap. So for example, that truss that I had built, I had the entire thing built. It cost me like $300 and it goes all the way up the wall It goes all the way up the wall over here, all the way across the ceiling, all the way back down. And on Amazon, having the same exact thing, just one arm of this that camera's mounted on would have cost me like $600. And that's only half of the space that it's spanning across the ceiling. So, labor is cheaper here. So, that can be beneficial. In terms of issues working on the other side of the world, the only issue is if you are trying to contact people on the other side of the world once you're here because of time zones. That's the only issue. So, for example, sometimes if I want to have, if somebody wants me to be on their podcast, then in that situation, I might have to stay awake past like midnight, for example, if I need to be on at noon their time. Situations like this right now, it's like 10:30 p.m. here, where some people might be like, oh, I would hate to be working at that time. But for me personally, I basically have my entire schedule around this, right around being in front of people in the US and kind of working around that schedule. So basically what I'll do typically is I'll do any like running around. I'll do all that stuff before work. Instead, people typically, they'll do that stuff like after work. I'll do it before. And then, at a certain time of day, I'll come in and then I'm basically here, here for the rest of the night. Sometimes I don't even go out. I'm a homebody. Let's see here. Next up. For a new YouTuber, which is more important, audio quality or video quality? Both are important, but audio quality more. And the reason for that, and I mentioned this earlier as well, audio is half of the video experience. So when people are interacting with your content, if they come in and it sounds great, they are more likely to stick around than if it looks horrible. So if it looks then if it looks great but sounds horrible, that's what I mean. So if they come into your live stream or your video content, either one, and the audio is just horrible, then nobody's going to stick around for that. If they come in and, it sounds great, but the video's like, okay, then, they'll stick around. If they come in, the video looks awesome, the audio sucks and they can't hear, you sound something like this. You're like, hey, what's going on? Welcome to another video. Smash that like button. If you're like that and you sound real far away, then in that situation, people will leave on that video. Let's see here. Okay. Well, I think that, yeah, Heidi, we're still rocking and rolling here. Okay. So, with that said, thank you everybody for hanging out. I hope that you learned something today. Thanks again to Streamyard for, letting me on the channel today to talk about, live streaming and how to be more comfortable on camera and, overcoming camera shyness and all that stuff. I hope that added value to you in some way. If you haven't yet subscribed to the Streamyard channel, make sure that you do so for more content like this. I stream here. My brother D streams here. Daniel Battelle. If you came over here from my channel, then you're familiar with my brother D and Daniel Battelle. They all, stream here as well. And as well as a bunch of other, really awesome people. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel. And if you haven't tried StreamYard yet, you can do so at streamyard.com. It's the easiest live streaming platform that you'll ever use. It basically does all the heavy lifting for you in the cloud. So you can even run it from a laptop or phone or anything like that. You don't need a beefy computer. And they also have additional things like being able to add graphics to it and, that kind of stuff as well. Like, for example, you can see how I just popped on that live StreamYard, StreamYard live showed on there. That's just a click of a button and then that stuff pops up. You can also add, like your names or website URLs or, anything that you want there, tickers along the bottom of the screen. I mean, it's awesome. Awesome piece of equipment. So definitely give StreamYard a shot, streamyard.com if you are not already a StreamYard user. All right. Well, thank you so much again for hanging out and we will see you next time.